Hey gorgeous, if your garden is anything like mine here in October, it's definitely looking like it's struggling a little bit. Leaning plants, fading colors, shades of brown, that end of the season feeling. But I love how fall here in 2025 is arriving here in central Indiana. We're definitely getting a little bit of a cool morning type of feeling, but we still are warm during the day. So that gives me plenty of time, makes it still comfortable to work outside, getting the things that I need to get done. So I am going to be sharing with you the things that I am concentrating on this month in my small central Indiana garden. So hopefully I can give you a little bit of a push for you to do something in your own. So first up, the big question: do you reset your garden beds now or just let them be? For me, it's a mix of both, and it's going to depend greatly on a couple of things. If a bed had plants that struggle, that got sick, or just look a little bit questionable, those go straight to the trash. No mercy, no compost. And for those beds that are empty, I try to add either a layer of compost or a layer of thick mulch so that the soil is not completely exposed during the winter. Things like leaves, grass clippings, or pine needle straw. But for the beds that just have leftover herbs or flowers hanging on, I usually just leave them, mainly for the wildlife. You will be surprised how much is still happening out here in the cold months. Seed heads feed the birds, and the fallen stems make perfect homes or protection for these little creatures. Next up, composting. Oh, the great debate. Do you add it now or do you wait until the spring? I have done both, and honestly, I feel like they both work. For me, deciding if I am going to be adding compost to my raised beds or to my flower beds in the fall or in the spring, it's really going to depend on my budget and also the time available that I have now to do everything that it's involved. Adding compost now means that the worms will get time to work all winter long, and by spring the soil is definitely fluffier and richer, but that also means that I have to order the compost in bulk and I have to fill up the beds one by one, and my team for this garden is only a team of one, so that is going to definitely take some time and some organizing and planning ahead of time. But if your compost pile isn't quite ready or you don't want to be dealing with all that work, with all that hassle now, you can definitely do that in the spring, and it will still give your plants a boost right before you plant. This year I am going to be waiting until the spring, mostly because the weather is going to change quickly. It's going to get cold, it's going to get wet, and there is no way that I am going to be out here filling raised beds with compost, doing all that work. It's just not my kind of weather. Okay, now let's talk about one of my favorite fall topics, leaves. I love adding leaves to my raised beds, to my ground beds. Here's the thing, I don't have a single big tree. Well, my honey locust is not really one that produces a lot of leaves, or at least not enough for me to use. So I get really jealous of the people that have plenty of trees, that have plenty of leaves, that have to bag them in order for the city to pick them up. So I am 100% that person, driving around like a little garden raccoon, collecting bags of leaves from the neighborhood. Once I bring them home, I run them over a few times with the mower that has a bag attached. That way they get chopped up super small and collected all at once. The tiny pieces break down a little bit faster in my opinion and make the best mulch or compost ingredient. Alright, let's talk dahlias, my pride and joy this year. If you grew them too, you know the feeling. October is the time to start thinking about saving those tubers for the next year. And if your first frost is still a bit of a ways, you can definitely start planning now. I just ordered a huge bag of vermiculite, which is what I'm going to be using to save those tubers. I am not going to wait until I have those tubers, clumps hanging around my backyard to start ordering supplies. Right now is the time for me to start getting ready, saving boxes, getting the supplies I need, making sure that I have my labels that I'm going to use ready, and just, planning ahead. Once the first frost hits and the leaves turn black, it's your cue to save those tubers. And many people have different opinions or preference on how to get this done. Wash them, don't wash them, leave the dirt, remove the dirt. So if this is your first time saving dahlia tubers, just look around on what other people are doing and try one of those techniques. I mentioned before that my biggest struggle when it comes to saving tubers over the winter is that I don't have a room that stays cool enough, but it doesn't freeze, but it's also not too warm. So this year I am planning on borrowing my sister-in-law's basement, and hopefully I get successful at saving all of these tubers. But this fall, I'm also going to do something a bit risky, a little bit different. I'm going to leave some of those dahlia tubers in the ground, protected for sure, and hopefully they will come back next spring. Brianna of Blossom and Branch tried this in her Zone 5 property, and it worked for her. So I'm going to give that a try, and we'll see what I get. These two beds right here are full of dahlias, just completely full of dahlias on each side. I have some varieties over here, I have different varieties over here, and I already made a couple of templates for myself, just writing down which varieties are on which bed, just in case I happen to lose any of the labels that are in the ground. I make sure that I have a backup to know exactly what varieties I have. Now the hardest part is deciding which raised bed is going to be the one keeping the tubers, mainly because I have different varieties, and the way that I'm looking at it is, if I don't get successful at keeping or making sure that the tubers don't rot in the ground, which one will I be less heartbroken? Which varieties will I be less heartbroken to lose that way? So I'm still deciding. I mean, they're all amazing. I love all of these dahlias. Now for the hydrangeas, specifically paniculatas, the ones with the cone-shaped flowers. This right here is my hydrangea hedge, specifically limelight hydrangeas. And as you can tell, the blooms are super heavy. They are struggling right now. Some years these hydrangeas go from being green to this gorgeous creamy color to a softer pink color. This year they're just going straight to brown. I mean, there's no going back on this. And not only that, but they were hit with a really bad storm early in the summer, and the blooms were already formed. The blooms were huge by that time, and they did not recuperate. They just kept kind of coming down to the side. So I could easily just come here, prune them, and let them be so that it looks that I just have sticks coming out of the ground. You can prune them now if you want things to look a little bit tidy. They bloom on new wood, so you won't hurt next year's blooms. I actually love leaving mine until spring. Through winter, they act like this natural privacy wall that I can definitely use. And those tall, dry flower heads covered in snow, they're just beautiful. Plus, I always see little birds hiding in them on the cold mornings, and that's just something, I don't know, special for me. Now let's talk garlic. October is actually the perfect time to get it in the ground. And if you haven't ordered your garlic yet, you still have time to do that. I love planting garlic in the fall because it gets a head start on the season, and honestly, growing garlic is super easy. The main part is just to get it in the ground at the right time to give it a little bit of protection and maybe even a little bit of water in the very early spring, and you're good to go. Here in central Indiana, for us gardeners, Halloween is the mark for planting garlic in the ground. But if you wait a little bit later, let's say early or mid-November, you're still good. I already purchased a bunch of music garlic, which is a hardneck variety. And if you're wondering how I get this done in my small garden here in central Indiana, I made a video last year showing a step-by-step from planting to harvesting, and you can find that video up here or in the video's description. The only thing about planting garlic in the fall, personally, is that I have to decide which bed gets to be the one that I choose to do this, because I will be harvesting this garlic late June, early July, and that means that I can do a succession of something else in that bed, maybe more zinnias or marigolds or another run of tomatoes and herbs. I hope this video was helpful. I hope that it gave you a little bit of a push to go out there and start working or planning on getting everything that you need for getting your fall garden ready to go. Thank you for being here, you guys, and I will see you in the next time.